Chapter 1780 Battle with King Arthur. Zhang Yi saw the friend request and subconsciously reached out to touch the dark silver ring on his right wrist. King Arthur's cousin had completely turned into Zhang Yi's shape. Such a deep hatred, a world-famous strongman like King Arthur could not ignore it. Even if his relationship with Bose was not very good, he had to fight Zhang Yi just to maintain his reputation and the dignity of the Lowen family. Zhang Yi accepted the other party's friend request. Not long after, King Arthur's video communication request came. Zhang Yi sat in the co-pilot of the car, squinting at the request, and agreed to his connection request. A handsome man with blonde hair appeared in the screen. His face was as firm as a knife, with clear lines. It was a regular square face, with some sunken muscles on his face, and his brow bones were cold and hard, as if scraped with a carving knife. His eyes were blue, with a sense of coldness and arrogance. While Zhang Yi was looking at King Arthur also stared at Zhang Yi for a long time. A few seconds later, a faint, cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Chaos, you kill my brother, Boris, right?" Zhang Yi drooped his eyelids. "Yes. Do you want to avenge him?" He was too lazy to explain too much. The Knights of the Round Table entered the land of Huaxiu without permission, and killing Boris was also a legitimate move. According to their Britannia, this is called the castle law. The wind and rain can enter, but the king will not allow it. Hearing Zhang Yi admit it so directly, the smile on King Arthur's mouth disappeared. "It's true," he sighed lightly. "I admire your honesty. But I offended the dignity of the Levent family. This matter must be settled between you and me." He stared at Zhang Yi with a cold look. Zhang Yi did not see anger in his eyes, but only a dignity that could not be offended. Boris was King Arthur's cousin, and the relationship between the two was not very close. Otherwise, he would not have followed Lancelot to the southwest region, but followed King Arthur closely. King Arthur did not care much about his death. He believed in the rule that strength is king. It was the honor of a knight that Boss died on the battlefield. There was no resentment for dying without strength. However, Zhang Yi's behavior made him intolerable. He not only killed Boss, but also made Boss's body into a weapon, which King Arthur could not tolerate. The chivalry they believed in was not to insult the enemy's body in this way. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes, and his eyes were equally cold. "What do you want?" King Arthur is a world-famous strong man, and his name is also the loudest in Europe. It is well known that he is a man who has led teams to the territory of underwater civilizations several times and returned intact. His strength should never be underestimated. However, this does not mean that Zhang Yi will be afraid of him. In fact, Zhang Yi has seen too many strong men, and his state of mind has long been honed. King Arthur said, "I will go to Fremons. But you don't have to worry. I won't attack you before solving the mechanical civilization invasion in Fremons. But after the war, I hope you can fight me in a fair fight in the spirit of chivalry." King Arthur's words made Zhang Yi admire him. It is inevitable that there will be conflicts between human civilizations. But now there is no war of national destruction between human civilizations, only conquest. But when facing the enemy of the entire human civilization, people with real strategic vision will temporarily put aside their personal prejudices and unite. Zhang Yi said, "If you can live to that time, I am willing to accept your challenge." King Arthur smiled. "Don't worry, if one of us dies in this crusade, it will definitely not be me." "Ha." Zhang Yi smiled faintly and ended the conversation with King Arthur. He leaned back in his seat. Although he won the war just after arriving in Fremons, he was not relaxed at all, because he realized that the mechanical civilization did not really attack humans at all. Winning is winning. But the team he led was the most powerful alien army in Huaxi country. Now, putting aside Ho Tu's ability to bind spirits, he was the strongest combat force that could be deployed. What's more, he was accompanied by Liang Yu, Hua Hua, Deng Shintong, and Lu Kuarant's Snow Owl Mecha, which was 5 Epsilon-level combat forces. Even so, it took almost half an hour to deal with the whole mechanical army. This was based on some conditions. First, the strange humanoid creatures that Alexei mentioned did not appear. Obviously, they were more difficult to deal with than super-large mechanical life forms. Second, the current primary goal of mechanical civilization is not to eliminate humans. Once they start to slaughter humans, I don't know how brutal the war will become. Third, and what made Zhang even more annoyed, was that these mechanical civilizations were obviously looking for something, and once that thing really appeared, it might bring a huge disaster to Fremons and even the entire human civilization world.
Zhang Yi
Raised his head. Although he couldn't see the distant sky, he could still feel it. There is some powerful and terrifying existence through the 369 huge polyhedral monitors, watching the movements on the surface of the planet. This thought made Zhang Yi feel depressed and fearful. He understood that although he seemed very strong now, he was still very weak compared to the truly powerful rulers of this world. The powerful existences of those underground civilizations, by Longzi and the gatekeeper of the underworld, needless to say. Even if he only fought against the Prince of Nash and the three pillars of the Neon underground civilization, he might not be able to win, and could only protect himself. This world is still full of countless mysteries and dangers. Zhang Yi closed his eyes. Let's go to the next target location. Deng Shintong's voice sounded on the communication channel, but didn't Fremons ask us to go to Samran City? Zhang Yi sneered. I said I would go, but I didn't say when. It will take a while for people from other countries and organizations to arrive. Before that, let's collect more intelligence while no one is interfering. The Far East covers a very large area. It is close to the Arctic Circle and is cold all year round. After the end of the world, it has become a Jedi with almost no people. On this day, 2 huge transport planes flew over the gray sky and stopped in front of a huge, deep pit. The transport plane slowly landed on the ground, the hatch opened, and a team of well-armed and strong Colombian soldiers came out. They were wearing gray and white striped camouflage combat uniforms, and on their chests, there was a blood mark of claw scratches. This is one of the most powerful elite special forces of Colombian aliens, ABLE. It is as famous as the Sea Wolf Commando in the Navy. Every soldier in the unit is a powerful alien who has been transformed by Colombian genetic technology. It is the masterpiece of the famous madman Professor George da Vinci. 30 soldiers walked out of the transport plane and lined up on both sides, as if waiting for a big shot to appear. Soon after, 2 short white legs stepped out of the hatch and hopped down the gangway. Although his legs were not long enough, he still tried to look serious and nodded at the able soldiers around him. Well, not bad. Very good performance, man. He was only about 1.6 meters tall, and his body was as white as snow. What was even more surprising was that he actually had a dog's head, a dog's limbs, and a dog's body. Yes, he was indeed a dog. A snow-white Labrador. But he was wearing a combat uniform, walking on his hind legs like a human and speaking fluent English. The soldiers on both sides straightened their backs. Because they were wearing masks on their faces, it was impossible to see their expressions clearly, which made it impossible to know whether they thought the scene was funny. After the Labrador came out, Newton's figure followed. Brian, we are not here to ski. Don't forget the professor's instructions this time. You must obey my orders. Newton came over and said to the Labrador in a serious tone with his head down. The white Labrador in front of him has a very cool name, Brian Griffin. This name comes from its owner, the mad Professor Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, it is Leonardo da Vinci's test subject. A madman who likes to do human experiments, after studying countless mutant creatures, finally extended his evil hands to his lovely dog, and finally made the dog become like a human being. Brian himself said so. Seeing Newton's serious look, Brian spread his arms and comforted him. Hey, Newton. I don't think you need to be like this. We came here from far away and can't just think about work. Well, I mean, we can treat it as a vacation. It suddenly looked around and said excitedly, I heard that there are great Siberian Huskies here. I can't wait to pick up a girl here. Newton adjusted his glasses and said coldly, not every dog is like you, with modified genes that can withstand the damn cold. Even those sled dogs either froze to death or were made into barbecue by the Fremons people. Brian's eyes suddenly became dim. You're right. You humans are too rude to dogs. Even in the end of the world, you can't turn your good friends into food. Damn it. I swear if one day we are trapped somewhere without food, I will bite off your ass without hesitation. Newton crossed his arms. That's a matter for the future. And now, you have to listen to me in everything. Brian thought of the orders of his master, Professor Da Vinci, and crossed his arms unhappily. Okay, damn guy. You have grasped my only weakness. Let's see if there is anything we can do. Newton turned around and walked forward. There was a dark pit so huge that it would cause phobia. First, we must check what is under these pits. Only by understanding the purpose of those mechanical life forms can we effectively find ways to deal with them. In the next 2 days, Zhang Yi, under Ling's guidance, ran through all the places where incidents had occurred in the Far East. However, he never encountered the mechanical army again. He only saw the entire Far East land that was dug and riddled with holes. They were digging the ground, as if they were trying to find something from underground. However, Zhang Yi and his team were not without gain. The Far East region is rich in resources, including coal, oil, etc., or natural gas. There were so many resources, Zhang Yi didn't waste any of them. He helped collect them all. Anyway, Fremon's population is only a few million now, so there is no need for so many resources. It's a complete waste. Zhang Yi was happy to help his neighbors solve the problem of waste. Although they didn't encounter the mechanical army again, Zhang Yi and others did not gain nothing. They sorted out the tracks of all the mechanical army's actions and formed a three-dimensional map from which they summarized the rules of the mechanical army's actions. The initial area was in the Far East, but now it is slowly spreading to the west and north. A few days ago, Karen City, which is the area in the west of the European plate that relies on the Hualien gang, was attacked. According to the information provided by Fremons before, they appeared on a small scale half a year ago, and their activities have only become frequent in the past month. It just happened to be connected with our war, with the Wulwan Empire. Zhang Yi seemed to understand something, and said to Deng Shintong and Yang Xinxin, "The Far East region is close to the Huashu Kingdom. Previously, wars between high-level aliens broke out in the Northeast region, Northwest region, and Xinjiang region. So, I think it is very likely affected by that war. The energy fluctuations generated gave the mechanical civilization the wrong signal, but their range of activities is limited to Fremons. In other words, they determined that the target was underground in Fremons, but they could not accurately determine the direction." Zhang Yi gave his own speculation. However, in this case, it also means that the target of the mechanical civilization may not be in the Far East region. Will large-scale energy fluctuations cause the underground civilization to be on guard? Deng Shintong held his chin and frowned, as if he had thought of something. Yang Xinxin whispered at this time, "The Tunguska explosion and the Chernobyl incident." The Tunguska explosion was an unexplainable event in the history of Fremons. Hundreds of years ago, before weapons such as the death of love were invented, a terrifying explosion with a wide coverage occurred there. The light of the explosion even illuminated nearby countries. As for the Chernobyl incident, it was also a huge accident that occurred here more than 60 years ago. Although there have been many explanations for the explosion later, it is still incredible that such an accident would happen given the national strength of Fremon's predecessor at the time and the importance it attached to the Chernobyl project.